はい、どうもベリングオカルトジャパンのオカルートくんです。2025年7月の、何が起こるんだというものに対して、オカルト的に考えた結果、これは宇宙人による攻撃であるという答えに行き着きました。ちょっとこれだけを聞いたら馬鹿げているように感じる方が大半かと思いますが、この今から私が流す動画を見ていただきましたら、まんざらでもないかなと。あと数分後にはあなたはなっていると思います。まずこの動画を流すにあたって前振りの知識としまして皆さんに知っていただきたいことがあります。2023年の2月にアメリカで中国の気球が撃墜されたというニュースを、覚えていられる方がいらっしゃいますでしょうか。まず一番最初に撃墜されたのは2023年の2月の4日、アメリカのサウスカロライナで中国の、偵察気球、実質の偵察気球が撃墜されました。その後なんですが、これは中国の気球のニュースが映像とともに出てきましたので、かなりセンセーショナルにニュースでたくさん報道されました。これによって中国の気球というものだけがかなり一人歩きしてしまった感があるのですが、その後に実はサウスカロライナの2月4日の中国気球以外に3日連続でその他の未確認飛行物体がアメリカで、その3件ともの、機体が撃墜されています。まずその2月4日の中国気球が撃墜の後、2月2日にアラスカで、円筒形の物体が撃墜されています。その翌日2月11日、カナダのユーコーン州で、同様の、機体が撃墜されています。これは円筒形だったと言われています。2月10日の物体もアメリカのニュースでは円筒形だったと言われています。そして2月12日に関してはアメリカのヒューロン湖の上空で八角形の物体が撃墜されています。このように3日連続で気球とは全く別物の物体が撃墜されているという状況になります。3日連続です。それでは、今から流す動画の、時間割をご説明します。それでは始めたいと思います。
Surveillance balloon object, whatever it is.
Yeah, so at this point, we don't know the origin of the object. Again,
has Secretary Austin reached out to his Chinese counterpart or any other counterparts at all since this has been tracked?
Since this particular object, no.
Investigation into this object. We have no further details about the object at this time, other than it appears to be a small cylindrical object and smaller than the one that was downed off the coast of North Carolina.
Look back at how we dealt with this, again with information that we had that wasn't complete, but yet legitimate concerns about a threat, and dealing with that threat safely and efficiently. Nobody hurt as these balloons were taken down. And I think that should give the American people a measure of comfort and confidence. But the president wants to make sure that as we go forward, we do so. Or that they're at greater risk. If anything, you look back at how we dealt with this, again with information that we had that wasn't complete, but yet legitimate concerns about a threat, and dealing with that threat safely and efficiently. Nobody hurt as these balloons were taken down. And I think that should give the American people a measure of comfort and confidence. But the president wants to make sure that as we go forward, we do so smartly and we do so effectively. And that's why he wants a set of new rules determined so that we can now deal with these in a perhaps a different way, in the future.
Well, we have you here. What can you tell us about this ISIS raid in Syria?
Yeah, so I think you saw Central Command put a statement out that last night the U.S. military and SDF partner forces conducted a helicopter raid against an ISIS senior leader, a man named Hamza al-Hamzi. And he was overseeing the group's deadly terrorist network in eastern Syria before he was killed in the raid. As the Pentagon has reported, an explosion during the raid also resulted in 4 U.S. troops and one of the working dogs suffering some injuries. The troops and the working dog are in stable condition. They're being treated at a U.S. military facility.
Why are we treating it down all of a sudden?
I kind of feel like I took care of that in my opening statement, but I'm happy to revisit it. I mean, really 2 reasons here. And these are certainly in both cases they're different. I mean, we need to separate the Chinese spy balloon. We knew what it was. We knew where it was going. We knew what it was trying to do. And by not taking it down, I mean, it was also a huge payload. Like I said, the size of 3 school buses. So really the option of shooting that down over land wasn't a legitimate option because somebody really could have gotten hurt. And we used the time available to us, knowing what this thing was all about. We used that time to study it, to learn from it, to collect on it, then taking it down at the earliest opportunity in the water. And we have retrieved some of that debris off the bottom, and we're studying that. Hang on a second, I'll be right there. So let's separate that from these other 3. These other 3, what are some of the differences? Altitude. Chinese spy balloon, we knew exactly what that thing was. And we knew what it was trying to do. And we saw it, Jackie, as it slowed down, sped up, maneuvered a little bit, trying to get a look at what we believe to be sensitive military sites. These other 3, they didn't have propulsion, they weren't being maneuvered, it was basically they were being driven by the wind. We don't know for sure whether they had a surveillance aspect to them, but we can't rule it out. So there was enough uncertainty there that again, out of an abundance of caution, doing the prudent thing, the president directed that they get taken down. And I get where you're going. Is this the standard going forward? And we're going to dive into this. We're going to learn from these 3 events. We're going to continue to study what happened. We're going to have an interagency effort that helps us get around policy implications here, and we'll see where this goes. But bottom line for President Biden is, we got to do the right thing for the American people, for our safety.
Anything more about this octagonal object? How big was it?
We're still trying to assess what that was. I'm not going to get into a description. I've seen the press reports about what it looked like. I think
just a few minutes ago, Prime Minister Trudeau said that there's some sort of pattern to the object.
We could see these shoot downs on a regular basis like we saw over the weekend. We're not flying any surveillance balloons over China. Are we flying any other kind of surveillance craft routinely over China?
We are not flying surveillance balloons over China. I'm not aware of any other craft that we're flying over into Chinese airspace.
And then finally, can you tell us anything more about this octagonal object? How big was it?
We're still trying to assess what they did not appear to have any self-propulsion. So to
expect that this is more than usual that are flying over.
So two thoughts there. I mean, I think we can all get our heads around the fact that there are sometimes things floating at high altitudes for various purposes. As I said, scientific research, weather balloons, all manner of and the gains, as we call it, of the radar capability of the radar capabilities to look more discreetly.
In previous years, these unidentified objects that we shoot down, they might have a question. When it comes to these higher altitudes, are America's borders secure?
The president takes, as I said earlier, he takes our national security.
I'm just, I loved E.T., the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there. With all seriousness, I know.